We just discovered a new way to sprout wheat, and it just might change the way you do things.
Hey Provident Preppers, I'm Kylene.
And I'm Jonathan, and our new friend Tay Kratzer showed us a way to sprout wheat, which is going to revolutionize the way we do some things here.
It's fabulous. So first of all, Tay, thank you so much. So I highly value our audience. There is such a wealth of information and knowledge and skills out there. And I really appreciate that Tay reached out to me and emailed me and said, hey, I saw your video about sprouting wheat, because we did this entire video where we took different ages of wheat and how they'd been stored to see what would really sprout. In fact, I'll leave a card in the corner if you want to check out that video. But Tay said, I've got a much easier way. Let me show you. And so in this video, he's going to demonstrate it for us. But I wanted to tell you a few things first about why you might want to sprout your wheat. First of all, it reduces the gluten by 47%. So for those of you who are sensitive to gluten like I am, it may be a way to be able to use your stored wheat, right? Really important. It also increases a lot of the nutrients, makes them more easily digestible, and you can pull especially iron better out of the wheat if you've sprouted it. But it creates vitamin C, which is something that we're missing in our stored goods. And the other thing that it does is
it reduces the phytic acid, which makes our gut happier. So at least for a lot of people, that really helps.
So what Tay has done is showed us just how to sprout the wheat. We soak it for a day, and then we're just sprouting it right here on a cookie sheet with the cloth. So there's no work. Like, all I did after I soaked it for 24 hours, I spread it out here, put the cloth over it, and didn't see it for 3 days. And yet now I've got all of this beautiful sprouted wheat. And then in the video, Tay talks about how he dries it and how he cracks it and then uses it for cooked cereal. Wheat is such a very valuable storage item. It'll store for 30 years or more and still maintain really high nutrition. So this was exciting for me.
And me too. And now let's turn it over to Tay.
Okay, I'm going to show you today some things that we do at our kitchen table. In our kitchen, I'm going to sprout some wheat for you, okay? Now this is actually something that goes over a matter of about 6 days, actually. But I've got here at my table actually a handful of projects. You know, I'm sprouting, I've got a bread maker, you notice eggs from our garden, here's coral water that we drink and so forth. But today what we're going to show you is how we're going to take this just regular dry wheat that we got, you know, from storage, okay? And we're going to go ahead and we're going to soak it for a day, okay, those wheat berries. And this is just, you know, for me, I like to use like a red wheat, okay, not necessarily a white wheat. I'm going to take some of this sprouted wheat here, and I'm going to put it in this little custard dish. And that way you can contrast it to this dry wheat from storage, okay? So look at the contrast there. See how it's about twice the size. You know, it's taken on water and so forth. And so that's what we're trying to display to you here. And then after we soak it for a day, we go and we rinse it at the sink. After we've rinsed the wheat, we then put it inside of just a plain old cookie sheet. This isn't anything special. This is just something I got at Costco. Love Costco. This has been sitting here for 3 days. Okay, I'm just going to kind of dig in here. It's a little bit moist, but you're going to see here, you see those hairs, those buds and those sprouts and the hairs? That is sprouted wheat. I'm going to pick this up by the hair. You see that sprouted wheat, right? And that's significantly more nutritious. It even has vitamin C, right, from wheat. So you don't get vitamin C from wheat unless you sprout it. So that's what we're going to show you today, okay? So we've just showed you part of it. I'm going to take this wheat here that I've, you know, soaked for a day, and I'm going to rinse this at the sink. Okay, so let me show you what I'm doing here. I'm just scooping out some of this wheat that I've soaked for a day, right? And I'm going to put it inside of this little strainer here. You see that? And so I'm just going to do that. And below my strainer, I've just got like a regular colander that I would, you know, strain vegetables or pasta in or something like that. And so I'm just running this water through, and I'm just rinsing off, you know, the phytic acid or, whatever it is that comes off of the wheat, right? And so that's all I'm doing here. It's really, really simple process. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to just dump that right on a cookie sheet, okay? Moisture and all. I'm not trying to really get rid of that moisture. And then I'm just going to, let's go ahead and fill this cookie sheet. So I'm just going to do the same action again. What's interesting is some of them have even kind of start to pop open just a little bit. So we're just rinsing that off and getting that nice and clean. And because this is going to be, just sitting in that pan for a few days. You don't want anything to get rotten or something like that, right? So, and again, we're just getting rid of the stuff that we've gotten soaked off of there, that phytic acid. Okay, so now I've got enough in that pan, all right, that this pan is really all ready to go. So I'm going to take, and I'm just going to do a little of that action, right? Just kind of shake that up. And you're going to see it's pretty close to the top of the edge. I could have even put a little bit more in there, but I don't need to. So there we go. I'm just going to kind of smooth that out, right? And that's all ready to go. Just put a towel over it, okay? And there, 3 days. Just let it sit and germinate. And that's the entire soaking process. Okay, so this has sat here for 3 days, okay? The last step, the final step, is to take that sprouted wheat. So let's just kind of come in on that for a moment. And so you can see that as I agitate that a bit, you're going to see this sprouted wheat there, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that and just it's still kind of moist, okay? And so it's still kind of grabbing the pan and so forth. And so I'm going to take that and I'm going to just kind of shake that. I'm just trying to get it very level in that pan. And the whole idea here is I'm just trying to allow this to get dry. Okay, so I could even make a thinner layer of that if I wanted to, but and I'm just air drying this. I'm really trying to make this simple. I'm not putting this in an oven. I'm not putting it into a food dryer. Quite frankly, when I put it in the food dryer, I found that it was just kind of making a mess. These little seeds, these little wheat kernels were falling in the dryer, and it was just made it a pain, right? And then with an oven, you're supposed to have it at 100 degrees or something like that, or 6 hours, whatever it is. And I just didn't want to hassle with that, right? So for me, it was just like, hey, let's just take this, and as long as we've got some surface area for putting some pans, I'm going to go ahead and just take this one pan and distribute it to 3 pans, okay? And so that's what I'm doing here. This last one, I'm kind of breaking it up because this is the one where it originally sprouted in, and they were kind of, in a sense, growing roots, in a sense, that were kind of suctioned to the bottom of the pan, or to the, to the pan there. And so there we go. We're just kind of distributing that, and boom, that thing's ready to go. And we're not going to cover it because we want that natural evaporation to go on. If there were sunlight, that'd be all the better, so that you could just get that evaporative process going on. But that is the process of letting the soaked wheat and the sprouted wheat dry, okay? So after it's dried, let me show you the end result. I took it from these pans and I just put it on a bigger pan to show this. So this is sprouted wheat that's been dried, okay? So you see that? So let's just kind of contrast that. See how that's got kind of a little bit more of a golden color versus this is kind of a more grayish, I guess, kind of a stone color. So that is the difference between sprouted versus unsprouted wheat. And of course, this is so much more nutritious. So anyway, so this product then, what I do is I don't just keep it in that pan. I'll just take and I'll store it in my, one of my original cans that I had the wheat from. And so I just will pour it in there. So that's the entire process. Now, what do I do with this sprouted wheat, right? How do I consume that? Now, you're not going to want to use it for bread. That's been my experience. You can use it we use it for whole wheat tortillas. The way that I use it really day to day is I put it inside of a wheat grinder, a little hand wheat grinder, and I make similar to oatmeal in the morning, like a hot cereal, okay? And so now I'm eating something very nutritious, very high fiber, okay? Just fabulous fiber source. And that's what I have literally every morning. This is what I'm eating, and I really don't get sick of it. But let me show you how then I get this ground. I'm going to go ahead and push this into a little cup here, and I've got this. What is it? Marga wheat grinder. There's all kinds of wheat grinders out there, but this is like an Italian one, and I really like it. It works really well. And so I'm just going to take some of this wheat, and this is what I do every morning. Okay, is I just grind it. Now I just use this little whisk just because we had it in our kitchen, and it's just kind of a way to just kind of coax it between the little grinding gears there. You know, I don't have to do this, but it just, you know, kind of speeds it up. And so that's what I'm doing, is I'm just making this fresh ground, you know, whole wheat cereal, basically, right? That's uncooked, right? And so that's what I'm doing here. I now have sufficient. I basically need 3/4 of a cup of this stuff. So this is a fourth. I'm going to take 3 of these, and I'm going to put it in 2 cups of boiling water. So when this comes to a boil, I'm going to go ahead and add 3, you know, 1/4 cup measurements into that. I've already got salt in there, but also what I'll do is I'll put in butter, I'll put in raisins, I'll put in the stevia, and that way it just sits there. And quite often what I do actually is I'll cook the cereal. I'll first drink my water in the morning, my coral water, and then what I'll do is while I'm drinking the water, I'll be making this, and then I'll go to the gym, work out for an hour, and then I come back, and this food is like just great for me right after the gym and so forth. And if I wasn't there too long, I don't even have to reheat it. Let's look at this boiling water here, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and 1, 2, 3 1/4 cups. So that's 3/4 of a cup added to that 2 cups of, you know, boiling water. And you see that, okay? And so it's going to take just a minute. And when it starts to kind of get frothy at the top and it kind of bubbles up, then I just, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm done. You know, I turn it off, right? And so I don't know if I have to run it that long, but you see how it's kind of building up there, right? And there you go, right? And so I'm just going to go ahead and turn that off, and really I'm done. That's done. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab a little bit of butter. I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of glob of butter. That might have looked like a little bit too generous, but I'm all right with having some good butter in it. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take some raisins that we have here in the drawer. These are just some organic raisins from Costco. And we've got a bunch of these in storage. Okay, we're really into food storage. And so I'm just going to add a bunch of those raisins. There we go. And then another thing I keep in storage that I've got like a bunch of it is stevia. Okay, so I use this Stevita brand stevia. I get it from Wonder Labs. And so I just put a little bit of that in there. It doesn't have to be like sticky sweet. You know, it's just to kind of give it a little pleasant flavor. You know, what's good about the wheat is the wheat in and of itself just kind of has this kind of pleasant nutty flavor. And so I don't really have to do a whole lot to make it. And I could eat it straight, quite frankly, but I like to add a little something. So that is the wheat cereal, and so you just get a zoom in on that, and I'm just going to cover that up. I've turned off the heat, done. Come back to that again after the gym, and I eat that. So really, it's just got to sit there like half an hour, maybe even 15 minutes, just your preference. And I'm just kind of teasing this here so you can kind of see it. It looks very much like oatmeal, okay? Kind of that same consistency, right? You know, texture's a little different, so like a little chewier, a little bit more enjoyable to me actually than oatmeal. For those that are like, wait, that's too much wheat for me, you know, you can put in oats. Like I used to kind of half and half mixture, right? You know, I'd put in half oats, half wheat, you know, and so that's, you know, that's pretty much how it will look when you're ready to eat it, right? It kind of has that consistency. So yeah, that's 5 minutes later. This is, you know, pretty much ready to serve, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm just going to pour that in a bowl, right? So there we go, yummy. Because it's really pretty hot and I'm like, okay, I just want this to cool quickly. I'll just put it like on a big old plate, right? And I'll just like do that action, right? And that heat is going to dissipate, right? Very quickly, right? And then I could, you know, be eating that in a minute or two, right? And that way I don't have to wait for this thing to you know, lose heat and so forth. And so that's how I've done it when I'm kind of in a hurry, you know? So there's the cooked cereal.
There you have it, and thank you, Tay, for showing that method of sprouting wheat. I'm excited about this because I love breakfast cereals and I love steel-cut oats. This looks like it's going to be very similar to that. So we're excited to try this and think about the ways you can dress it up. Pecans, I like brown sugar or honey, raisins. There's a variety of ways you could dress this up and make it extremely yummy.
He is a man that loves his breakfast cereal, that is for sure. And one of the things that I had learned when we did our little sprouting experiment with the wheat is that wheat like this, when it's sprouted, is actually sweet and very easy just to eat. And so if you weren't able to do anything other than sprout your wheat, soak it with that little bit of water the first day, and then drain it and put it on your cookie sheets to sprout with the towel over it, that makes wheat edible without breaking your teeth. It's nice and sweet. And with wheat, it's very versatile. So for today's question of the day, what recipes do you have? What ways do you use wheat in your daily life and in your diet? Comment below. And thanks for being part of the solution.